Last year, I made a video breaking down 7 months of lifting knowledge in 15 minutes. It's now been exactly 2 years, and today I'm giving you a masterclass on how I completely transform my body, my strength, and my mindset. So let me just give you a quick refresher of how the journey started. I got into the gym at 120 kg at only 5'7". Now that is too much weight for someone my height. Medically, I could be categorized as morbidly obese. I used to be that guy. The guy that always said, I'm going to start going to the gym. Until it got so bad that the choice was made for me. And I can't forget that day. I was shifting and moving things outside, but my cardio got so fried that I couldn't even lift a simple chair to take it outside. I was weak to the nth degree. To me, that was a wake-up call because at some point I used to be strong. The driver was actually the one who did most of the work. He's actually the one who put all my stuff into the vehicle, because for me I was just out there seated, breathing heavy. That really made me hit a new low. So when we were done moving, I called my then girlfriend, told her about it. Then she was like, you know what, I've also been thinking about starting the gym. Let's start this thing together. Then the first day in the gym, we had a workout together. For the first week, we were both consistent, but as days went on, she kept on starting and stopping. But for me, I just kept on going because I am an obsessive person. So when I start a thing, I actually go in deep. And to me, since the decision of actually getting serious about fitness was made, I never ever looked back. My advantage was I already did 5 years of medicine in uni. I couldn't just complete it because of finances. And to me, when I was in uni, I was studying to know. There are certain people in uni who study to pass, and before the next semester comes around, they would have forgotten all that knowledge. But for me, I already had the anatomy down packed. I already had the physiology down packed. So mastering the movement and executing things with proper form didn't really take a lot. All I could do is just scan my brain. If I'm really trying to get bigger biceps, what do the biceps do? The function of the bicep is to get food from your plate to your mouth. In short, the movement is elbow flexion. So if I'm trying to build bigger biceps, the idea is to flex my elbow under load. That's how easy it was for me. But the moment I saw a little bit of some muscle gain and the fat started to drop, I was hooked. So people always ask me, so Monza, do you mean that you've never actually quit in the whole 2 years? The answer is a hard no. I've been consistent for 730 days. Here's exactly how I do it. First, you have to understand, my biggest goal is not aesthetics. The biggest goal that underlies it all is longevity. Let me explain to you a concept called sarcopenia. To do that, I want you to understand the graph on this whiteboard. Now what we have in the x-axis here is age, and what we have in the y-axis here is muscle mass. Now as you can see from this sloping line here, immediately it hits 30, it begins slowing down. What this means is that when you hit 30, you begin losing 1% of muscle each and every year. So if I want to be strong and functional in my advanced years, I have to be building more than 1% of muscle each and every year just to stay ahead of the curve. Secondly, fitness is not a touch and go hobby for me anymore. It's my lifestyle. It's who I am. Because of the nature of my business, I have projects all over Zambia. And as you may or may not know, travel is the #1 excuse that most people make to not stay on course with their fitness goals. But to me, the first thing I do when I arrive in a new town or city is find a gym. No debate, no excuse, I just have to work out. My training hasn't stayed the same though. It has evolved over the years. When I made the first video, I fancied myself a bodybuilder. I even experimented with things like CrossFit, but it didn't align with my goals. I was advised to try Olympic lifting, and I tried it because the people made a convincing argument that because of my height, I can be able to do well in weightlifting. But I just didn't have the mobility and the flexibility for it. Bodybuilding is what took my physique to the next level. Then life happened. I lost my job in Lusaka and had to move back home in Chilabombwe. And guess what I did at first? I found a gym. And that's where everything changed. The first gym that I went to, first of all, I didn't like it. It was a ghetto gym with all these weights whereby you could even find 30 kg plates. But then I went in looking for another gym, found one in Chilabombwe, and it had the standard weights. It had the Olympic bars. And I was like, this is the gym. That's where I met the guy that actually got me into heavy lifting. That's Mr. Kasisi. This guy is a strongman competitor. The guy is a monster. At that time when I was only like 7 months in, the guy was deadlifting 250 kg. He was moving around 180 kg squats for reps. I mean, the guy could do 130 kg strict shoulder press for reps. Those are crazy numbers. One day, I was busy repping out 80 kg squats. The guy had just been observing me the way I was doing these kind of things, you know. I would come into the gym, squat 80 kg, leave fresh, like nothing happened. Then one day was like, today we're going to train together. I was like, nah, I can't catch up because I saw him squatting 180 kg. It was like, nah, today is a light day. We're going to just do it together. We loaded one plate, repped it out, put on a 15 kg, also repped it out. To me, I was close to my max at that point. Then 2 plates was added and now the weight was adding up to 100 kg. I thought the 100 kg was only for him. We're going to be removing that 20 kg. It was like, nah, you're going to squat this 100 kg today. A lot of things were going on in my mind. I was doubting myself. Will I be able to do it? It was like, nah, you're going to do it. I'm behind you. And just like that, I was under the bar. 100 kg was able to move. I actually hit it for 5 reps. And actually, we went on to even do 5 sets. And that was only like 7 months in. The next session, we benched together. I was only benching 60 kg at that point. It was like, nah, we're going to push it to 90 kg. And I was able to bench 90 kg. So the guy was telling me, how long did you start this? I was like, I just started 7 months ago. You 7 months and you're able to bench 90 kg? You must be a strong guy. At first I didn't believe the guy, I was like, nah, maybe it's just trying to flatter me. That was until I worked out with some of my fellow beginners, some of them who have been doing this probably longer than I did, and they couldn't even touch half the weight that I was touching. I was like, maybe the guy is right. Then we kept on working together. He kept on mentoring me here and there on how to lift heavy. Actually, he's the one who put me on to the heavyweight low rep philosophy. He was using that for strongman. I was using that for bodybuilding, and to be honest with you, it's the first thing that transformed my physique, because I used to do low rep heavyweight for almost everything, including bicep curls. If you're a gym girl or guy, you know that sooner rather than later your feed will be filled up with fitness content, and that's where I saw TNF and Elijah Mudy, and these guys were also preaching the same kind of lifting, and they were jacked. Natural and jacked. Of course, Elijah Mudy was not natural, but TNF was, and that was his philosophy. He was lifting heavy weights, low reps, but he would make sure the form is pristine, which just went on to echo Mr. Kasisi's philosophy of lifting, which I also had adopted. So I applied this heavy lifting to bodybuilding all the way up until November 2025. That's when I decided I wanted to see how far I could push my pure strength numbers. I decided I'm gonna commit to a proper powerlifting program, because in my bodybuilding days I could only do 120 kg for about 12 reps, and I could also do 95 kg for about 12 reps as well for 5 sets. Deadlifts have always been a bad lift for me. It's been a difficult lift for me, but at that time I could do 160 kg. So here came the challenge. How was I gonna actually tackle these things? Because you can't just walk into a gym and start lifting random heavy weights. Let me show you the power of programming. So, to create a program that works for you and your needs and your goals, the number one thing that you have to understand is how to set goals. So your program is going to emanate just from your goals. Then it can be reverse engineered from your starting point all the way up until you reach that point. For example, my goal was to squat 180 kg, and at that time I could only squat 120 kg for 12 reps, and that was a lot of reps, meaning that I had a lot of capacity for fast progress. So we're going to get the 180 kg number, then we're going to reverse engineer from the starting point, which is 120 kg, and then make a program that slowly progresses this guy to be able to squat 180 kg. It's not gonna be in a few weeks. Of course, it's gonna be a long journey to get to that goal, but at least the guy has something that is working towards. That's why it's important to start with an end in mind, which is your goal. Once the goal has been set, now we have to look at the volume and intensity. How much volume is this guy going to do every week in order for him to be able to progress all his lifts? Then the underlying concept among it all is progressive overload. Now, progressive overload means that you're adding either reps or weight each and every week. So let's say, for example, I progressed myself from 130 kg. I could only do 3 reps at first. That was the only volume that I could do. But at some point, we kept on adding reps until I was able to hit 5 clean reps. Once I was able to hit 5 clean reps, then we had to progress to the next weight, which was 135 kg. And then it just kept on going and going and going. But progressive overload does not mean weight every single time being added. It also means reps being added or improving the speed or improving the form. So what made me speed run all these numbers was that just a few months into my progression, a competition was announced, and I volunteered myself to be able to participate in that powerlifting competition. What the prep did for me is that it made me more dialed in order for me to be able to actually push my program, add more intensity, and actually progress faster, because now there was time. And as you know, a goal actually needs time. It needs a timeline in order for it to be actualized, as you know about how to set smart goals, right? On the day of competition, here are the numbers I put up. 165 kg for the squat and 125 kg as the bench. Unfortunately, there was no deadlifting event because of time. Since it was just a local meet, it wasn't really a sanctioned meet. But my deadlift was 175 kg at that time. Average numbers if you ask me, but from November 2025 to today, because of strict calculated programming, here's where we're at. The squat is 180 kg, goal achieved. Bench is at 140 kg, also goal achieved. Then deadlift is 200 kg. I've not yet reached my goal. My goal is 220 kg, but we're still working and we'll get there in a few weeks. Moral of the story, I went from a guy who was struggling to lift a chair to deadlifting 200 kg. And it's not because I've got super genetics. There's nothing special here, and it's not because I have infinite free time. I'm clearly busy with all my business escapades, but it's because I stopped making excuses. I found a mentor who pushed me past my limits, and eventually I committed to a structured program. So if you're stuck right now, whether you're trying to lose weight or you're stuck at the strength plateau, stop guessing. Get on a program. Treat it like your longevity depends on it, because honestly, it does. So for you watching this video, I've opened up 5 slots of my coaching. If you're interested, I'll leave the contacts in the description. You can reach out to me and I can be your coach to get you to your fitness goals. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.